Harambee! Neno hili si hivyo. Mambo ni matatu.
Ladies and gentlemen, in this video today, I want to demonstrate to you guys how Rigathi Gachagua is unknowingly helping William Samoei Arap Ruto to crush the united opposition ahead of 2027 general election. But first of all, let us look at some of the three facts, because there is no way you can argue with facts. The first fact is that Rigathi Gachagua is very popular. And because Rigathi Gachagua is very popular and very influential, there is no way any presidential candidate in the Republic of Kenya can actually ignore Rigathi Gachagua. I'm 100% sure that even William Samoei Arap Ruto, if he were to be given a chance to reconcile with Rigathi Gachagua, he would take that very early in the morning. And because of that popularity, the united opposition is actually depending and banking on him to defeat William Samoei Arap Ruto. So that's the first fact we can't argue with. The second fact which we can also not argue with is that Rigathi Gachagua remains impeached. And because Rigathi Gachagua remains impeached, there is no way he can run for the presidency of the Republic of Kenya in 2027. And because he cannot run for the presidency in 2027, and is also very popular, it means his support can only be transferred to someone else. And because he's very popular, most of the presidential candidates are actually hoping to win Rigathi Gachagua's support. And number three, Rigathi Gachagua wants to be another Raila Odinga. Raila Odinga remained very powerful in the Republic of Kenya, despite the fact that he never became the president of the Republic of Kenya. The reason Raila Odinga did that was because he had troops. He had MPs, he had senators. Raila Odinga had MCs across the country. Which means, as much as Rigathi Gachagua will not be running for the presidency, he wants his party to sweep most parliamentary seats, most gubernatorial seats, especially in Mount Kenya. And because of those three facts, Rigathi Gachagua remains very influential. But despite all those advantages, Rigathi Gachagua is clearly destroying the united opposition and their chances of winning against William Ruto without knowing. In this video, I want to explain why I believe so. Before we do that, for those who are watching this channel for the first time, please take a second or two, click the subscribe button so that next time we produce a video like this, YouTube will automatically notify you. And to the subscribers, I want to continue thanking you guys for your continued support, because without that support, this channel cannot be where it is. Ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, allow me to dive in. But the question is, how is Rigathi Gachagua helping William Ruto to crush the opposition? Number one is about the unity of the opposition. The only way the opposition, which is the united opposition, can defeat William Ruto in 2027 is if all of them are united and agree to front a single candidate. And then after agreeing on that candidate, all of them agree to rally and support that candidate. That way, they will be able to win against William Ruto. But is Rigathi Gachagua's actions pointing to a man who is keen on uniting the opposition? I don't think so. I don't think so. Because just over the weekend, Rigathi Gachagua made some interesting statement. And that statement alone is enough to split the opposition. In his statement, Rigathi Gachagua made it very clear that for Nairobi, for example, they've agreed with Wiper that out of the 17 MPs, he's going to give Wiper one. He's going to take the rest. And apart from that, he's going to take the governor, senator, and also he's going to take the women rep. Because according to him, the Kikuyu nation are the majority in Nairobi. That alone is enough justification for Natembeya, Wamalwa, or even Matiangi to bolt out. Remember, the enemy remains William Ruto. And therefore, anybody who can help them remove Ruto should actually be their friend. But what has Rigathi been doing? When Ndindi Nyoro became apparently clear that he was emerging in the mountain, and that he had a chance of running for the presidency, Rigathi Gachagua referred to him as a wheelbarrow.
Na wache hii propaganda kusema ati Wiper imeachia DCP vitu vyote Nairobi. You know, they have to try everything wagonganishe Kalonzo na Gachagua.
Na sisi tumepangana vizuri na kiongozi wa Wiper ambaye ndiye amekuwa akisaidia ODM hapa Nairobi. Tumekubaliana kiti cha gavana kitachukuliwa na DCP. Kiti cha seneta kitachukuliwa na DCP. Kiti cha women rep kitachukuliwa na DCP. Tumekubaliana na Wiper kati ya viti 17 kati ya DCP na Wiper tutachukua viti 16, na kati ya viti 85 ya ward between DCP and Wiper tutachukua 75.
When Fred Matiangi refused to form a regional party the way Rigathi Gachagua had wanted, what happened? Rigathi Gachagua referred to Jubilee Party as a red wheelbarrow.
Didi Nyoro is my very great friend and is one of our young leaders ambaye mentor and I continue to mentor. He's a very bright young man. Na ndio hujaona yeye akiongea hii maneno ya kutukanana. Umesikia Didi Nyoro akitukana mtu? He's been very respectful na amejibeba kama kiongozi and he has a future because yeye ni kijana ambaye anajua nini anafanya na ni rafiki yangu sana.
Hata hapa Murang'a amemwambia vijana wengine hapa watengeneza kahwirubaro, watu wajifiche hapo, wanajifanya hawataki Kasongo lakini ni watu ya Kasongo na ni wheelbarrow ya Kasongo. Mtakubali watu ya Murang'a?
You know, this country has been parochial from independence, where it is the top man down up there akiongea sisi tunalala chini. Now they come and tell us mondo wa nyumba. When we put them there, akienda juu ya muembe anakula maembe yote ambayo iko hapo, hata ile hawezi maliza. Instead ya kurusha chini tukule, anasema niwekee kwa fridge nitakula wakati mwingine. Now we want to put somebody up there who will eat. Akikula pia anakumbuka tuko hapa chini, anachuna maembe anarushia sisi. Sasa hapo unaweza tuita mtu wa nyumba.
Now tell me how Didi Nyoro can they now decide to join a camp where Rigathi Gachagua is? Not possible. So because of the need for the unity, Rigathi Gachagua is not for that. Number 2 is this thing called shareholder mentality. For a very long time, the opposition in Kenya has always relied on a narrative. And that narrative has always been national unity, equity, and fighting exclusivity. The reason they've been rallying around that is because there is what they refer to as tribal dominance of leadership. That since independence, we've always had Kikuyu, Kalenjin leadership. And places, for example, like Northeastern, Coastal region, and places like the OGX, they've always felt that they're always marginalized. So the opposition has always come up with that strategy of equity and fighting exclusion. And that is actually what has, and that's actually what moved the Coastal region and Northern Kenya to Raila Odinga side. Because remember, they were with Moi, they were with the Kibaki, they had also a chance of working with Ruto and even Uhuru. But despite the fact that Raila Odinga was in opposition, the Coastal region kept on supporting Raila because Raila Odinga projected himself as that man who was going to fight for their exclusion and fighting for their rights. So if you talk of shareholding, that for Nairobi, it's the Kikuyus. Well, we all know that Nairobi today, as much as Kikuyus are the majority, and as much as the Kikuyus are the ones controlling businesses, if you go to places like Eastlands, the Somalis have taken over. If you go to CBD today, the Somalis are taking over. The other tribes are also taking over. The Matatu sector, the Kisis are there. And you believe that it's only the Kikuyus. So it's easier for William Ruto to actually drive that narrative. In fact, when Rigathi Gachagua rebelled against Ruto, Ruto labeled him tribal because of this shareholding mentality. And that's how William Ruto at least got a bit of support from the non-Mount Kenya people. Number 3, there is also this issue of the regional kingpin paradox. Rigathi Gachagua is using that as his strategy to consolidate the mountain. And is consolidating the mountain not for any other thing, for bargaining. How is this affecting the united opposition? If you look at Mount Kenya, Uhuru Kenyatta is there fighting for the same space. Matiangi wants to become the president and is relying on the mountain. Ndindi Nyoro wants to also carve a name for himself as a national leader, but he also comes from the mountain. So the truth is, because of Rigathi Gachagua's interest in becoming the next kingpin, he's busy fighting any other person who is trying to challenge him or who he is viewing as trying to challenge him in the mountain. That's why Ndindi Nyoro is on his radar. That's why Matiangi is on his radar. I'm 100% sure that tomorrow, if Peter Munya were to also talk of the same ambition of becoming the next president, I can guarantee you Rigathi Gachagua will come out gun blazing. And because of that, it's going to be very difficult, for example, for Ndindi Nyoro, Uhuru, Matiangi to support the joint opposition candidate. Even if they were to support, then it means they're going to fight viciously in the mountain. And that would be good news for William Samoei Arap Ruto because he can take advantage of that fight to actually penetrate na apitie katikati. Number 4 is Rigathi Gachagua's brand of politics, which is abrasive. And because of his abrasive nature of politics, it's very difficult. It's actually scaring people. Sometimes there are people who feel like, okay, Ruto is bad, let us go to Rigathi. Then tomorrow, Rigathi ndio huyo. Sometimes he speaks even in cases where silence would have been the solution. And lastly, because of all those weaknesses I've talked about, Rigathi Gachagua has now created a situation where William Ruto has fashioned the 2027 presidential election as if it is between him and Rigathi Gachagua. How is that affecting the united opposition? Kenyans are now making that choice, that we have Rigathi here and we have Ruto here. Rigathi has his supporters, they'll easily pick him. Ruto has his supporters, they will easily pick Ruto. But then there are those who, for example, those who are in Azimio, who are not Rigathi and who are also not Ruto. So they'll be having that choice to make. And that's why in Luo Nyanza, if you were to give them Ruto and you give them Rigathi, their chances of picking Ruto are very high. Why? Not because Ruto is good, but why? They can easily pick Ruto because Rigathi Gachagua is abrasive in nature, attacked Raila Odinga, attacked everybody. He has portrayed the Luo nation as people who should not be part of any government because of their shareholding mentality. Ladies and gentlemen, because of those facts, I think Rigathi Gachagua is very popular. Rigathi Gachagua cannot run for the presidency. Rigathi Gachagua will be able to win several seats, but for the presidency, he's actually hurting the candidate he's likely to support. And that's why, for example, Kalonzo Musyoka the other day had to dismiss or deny the claim that he had entered into some deal over Nairobi. I don't know what you think. That's my take. Until next time, this is Makwiny. Bye-bye.